month, a new group was founded at UNC Chapel Hill. The UNC Free Speech Alliance is a new alumni-led organization to promote free speech, open debate, viewpoint diversity, and ideological balance at the university. I'm Jenna Robinson, president of the James G. Martin Center for Academic Renewal. And today I'm talking with one of the group's founding members, Frank Hill, a 1978 graduate of UNC Chapel Hill. Frank, tell me about the mission of the UNC Free Speech Alliance.
Well, I think the mission of it is trying to get back to the roots of what a university is supposed to be about already. We try to take it for granted, but I think the whole idea of a university is to have a free and open exchange of ideas from all sectors and try to use that so that we all learn something. And there's been a move, we think, in the university system to frustrate some of that free exchange, and we hope that this alliance will help bring to light some of those tensions and also get the alumni involved to help make that happen.
When I think of UNC and free speech, one of the first things that pops into my mind is the North Carolina speaker ban. And of course, that's going way back now. But UNC defied that ban in support of free speech. I think it's a bright spot in UNC's history. And you were on campus not long after that happened. What was the free speech environment and the political environment like when you were there?
Yeah, I'm like old enough to be ancient history now, but I was in junior high school, elementary school when that happened, so I wasn't totally familiar with it, but I got to Carolina in 1974, and so that was only 5, 6, 7 years after the speaker ban. And of course, that was where the Southern Democrats in control of the state legislature were trying to frustrate communism from coming on campus and talking. And it basically was turned out to say, let them speak, learn from it, find out why they're wrong and all that. But that was a really big political challenge for a long time. So in the early 70s, that was the end of maybe the beginning of the hippie era and a lot of other things that were going on. It has not reverted to the liberal side of the spectrum as much as it is nowadays. But I do remember going to many classes. One of them I had in particular, Dr. Edward Czar. He basically prodded people if they were going down one angle. And he would say, well, wait a minute, let's hear about the other side. Is anybody here going to talk about the other side? Or are we just going to all group speak together? He didn't really like that. And, that's what we probably would like to see, just to make sure that there are professors who are prodding both sides to speak freely.
Yeah, the environment at UNC was also, I think, pretty welcoming when I was there. People encouraged both sides. I was there for grad school. Most of the faculty were left of center as they are now, but they knew I was conservative. They knew I had worked at a free market think tank, and it was fine. We all got along. We enjoyed each other's takes on things. And at least in the political science department, there was respect for, freedom of expression and viewpoint diversity.
Well, and like I said, I grew up in the late 60s, early 70s, long hair, hippies, free love, all that kind of stuff was going on. Not that I was experiencing a lot of that in Durham, but I just, I was probably more left of center at the time. I thought I wanted to be a Nader's raider and break up corporations, and they were all big and bad and all that. Maybe that's just a function of the time. But I do distinctly remember going to these classes and hearing various professors say, what about the other side? How can we think outside of what we're dealing with every day? That I think was helpful. It was, there definitely wasn't a wet blanket toss on everybody to prevent them from thinking about the other side.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it sounds like you probably had some great discussions, but things are obviously different now, or there wouldn't be a need for the Free Speech Alliance. What are some of the things that you've observed that prompted the founding of the organization?
I've been in politics for a long time, and I was in Washington for 22 years with Senator Dole and Congressman McMillan. And so I wasn't in the state, but I would hear from various lobbying groups or various people who were concerned about different things. And then since I moved back to North Carolina over 10 years ago, I'm closer to it. I've actually done some uh, consulting work with UNC Chapel Hill. So uh, I've stayed close with them, various people on the board of trustees, North Carolina legislative people. And some people want to dismiss a lot of these things as being, oh, that's just anecdotal. You're just hearing this, you're just hearing that. Well, if you hear it for 10 years and you see it with your own eyes, conduct some classes on various campuses, including Carolina. And I've had 4 to 5 students that come up at almost every time and they say, Mr. Hill, this is the only class that I can speak freely about my conservative, Christian, whatever, right of center views without feeling ostracized or feeling like I might get a bad grade because we don't grade anything. And I'm just stunned by that. It's not anecdotal. I mean, when you see it 50 times on different on different campuses, including Chapel Hill, that seems to be a pretty solid data point to me.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of self-censorship going on at Chapel Hill and at other universities. You're absolutely right. And there are other alumni who are doing similar work to the UNC Free Speech Alliance. The Martin Center has written about Davidsonians for freedom of thought and discourse, and we've written about the General's Redoubt at Washington and Lee. Are you affiliated with those groups? Tell me about the national scene.
Yeah, I'm not affiliated with either one of them, but I've been following them. And I have a lot of friends who are very involved with them, graduates of W&L. I've stayed in touch with them and they've put a lot of effort and money into their effort over the past 5, 6 years. I was surprised to learn that Davidson had actually a strong chapter because of some of the liberal leanings that we hear about from Davidson students up there and Davidson faculty. So we're just trying to copy what they did. I mean, they've invented the wheel and taken the leadership from the Chicago principles. So we're just hopeful we'll be able to take those and use them here in North Carolina and see if we can't be of some positive. We're not going to be an angry group or a mob, I don't think is a good way to put it. I think we're just trying to say, let's use logic and reason, a little bit of winsomeness, maybe some humor every now and then, and just try to see if we can't steer this back somewhat toward balance, which is all anybody can ever hope for, I think, in a university system.
Right. And UNC actually, I think, starts out in a better place than Davidson or Washington and Lee. On paper, UNC already has good First Amendment protections. They've got a green light from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education for their speech policies. The faculty have adopted the Chicago principles. So, like I said, on paper, everything looks good. What are the next steps after taking those, getting the policies right? What's next, and what is the UNC Free Speech Alliance going to work on?
Well, there's probably a wide range of stuff, and you know more about it than we do. I think what would tell me that something different substantively had changed is if I can do classes over the next 10 years at Chapel Hill and not have a student come up to me and say, you know what, this is the only place I can talk about my conservative principles. If I stop hearing that, I think that's probably proof. That's some empirical proof that something's changed. The other thing that's troubling, and we can't really get into this, I don't think directly, but I'm always troubled when people say we don't want to impinge upon the academic freedom of the faculty. Well, we're not trying to impinge upon the academic freedom of the faculty, and we know they have a big hand in other people getting hired. But I have sent people that I know who are conservative, but who have impeccable academic degrees. One gentleman I know went to undergrad at Harvard and has a PhD in classical philosophy from Yale. And I've sent him to Chapel Hill at least twice, including when I was consulting, with the administration. So I was getting his resume to the right people. He couldn't even get an interview. And the reason why he could not get an interview was that he had impeccable credentials, except for out of college, he worked for Haley Barbour, Republican governor in Mississippi for like 4 years. Well, is that disqualification for a classical philosophy professor from Yale to not be able to even get an interview at Duke, where his parents are also professors, Carolina? He was an adjunct professor at State for a while, but they wouldn't interview him for a full position. It gets back to that whole thing of just tell us who the Milton Friedmans are. that seemed to be a restraint of freedom of thought to me, that this guy couldn't even get an interview. I was shocked.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Um, so Frank, I think the last thing I want to know and our viewers want to know is how can others get involved with the UNC Free Speech Alliance? Where can we find you?
Yeah, well, the first thing we're trying to do is get as many people as we can to sign up at uncfreespeech.com, I believe, and you probably have that attached to this interview. Uh, what I found out in politics is that you always want to have as many people involved as you can. 10 of us doing this is nice, but it won't make a difference. My understanding is there are 350,000 living UNC alumni from grad and undergrad. If we can't get 1,000 people to sign up, then I'd be shocked. I mean, I've talked to 10,000, I've talked to 100,000 people probably in 20 years who are concerned about this. But that's the first thing I would do. If they want to get more involved, contact us. We're starting to form a board. We're going to raise some money and try to be proactive on social media in some of the public debate. But the main thing is to get involved instead of just sitting at home and saying, man, can you believe what they're doing over Chapel Hill? That's really terrible. Well, you can get involved, but you need to join a group like this. And then, we might become more proactive and maybe have some email campaigns or things like that, bring in awareness. But if you're concerned about it, you can't do nothing. You can't just sit on the sideline and do nothing. So, join the Free Speech Alliance is the first part, and support your efforts at the James Martin Center because you've been doing it for years, and you really have been plowing the ground for this. But I would just encourage everybody to sign up. That's the easy thing to do. It doesn't cost anything.
All right, excellent. I will put the link for the UNC Free Speech Alliance in the description box and encourage anyone who is interested to go check out uncfreespeech.com. Thank you, Frank.